My name is Richard Bannister. I'm the principal of the City London Academy down in Southwark. This is a full-range mixed comprehensive academy for 11 to 18-year-olds. It was set up about 8 years ago through parent pressure, basically being applied to the then Mayor of London, Ken Livingstone. There was no secondary school within Bermondsey, and the people campaigned and successfully managed to convince the Mayor and the City to invest in converting a part of a parkland into the academy. I think that's been sort of what's actually happened. The City of London was kind enough to put the sponsorship up of a couple of £1 million. The government invested heavily in the academy as well, and then basically it's all come together, which is fantastic. I think at the moment, obviously, we're facing significant cuts in budgets within the academy, and I know across education. I've actually tried to protect budgets for information, advice and guidance and work-related learning and enterprise education, despite facing, we've lost around about £50,000 worth of direct protected grants, to the academy. What I've tried to do is to funnel in resources from other parts of the academy to enable us to be able to still provide these things for young people, because I think ultimately if we're not supporting them at the transition point from going into, for example, from 16 going off to college or going out into the world of work, there's a particular issue, or alternatively from 18 going out into the world of work. So for me, it is one of my priorities. I'm a former careers coordinator of a school, so it's something that I do realise has significant impact upon young people's lives, and I'm passionately committed to linking careers education to making sure that we've got, or that we provide young people with the employability skills to enable them to be successful in their future lives. I appreciate that with a recession it's an awful lot harder to find work experience places, and we've lost around about 50% of our work experience places here at the academy. I know there is a move afoot that work experience shouldn't be mandatory. My view is that I think it's very, very important to offer this to 15 or 16-year-olds at GCSE, and also to offer it to A-level students, and also students in particular following vocational courses, where I think it adds an awful lot of value. We are going to maintain the provision here, despite it costing the academy a significant amount of additional money, because money's been withdrawn for work experience places from the academy. It is about priorities and what makes the biggest difference to young people, and if you're going to not light the fires in them to help them actually make the transition that's required from schools or academies into the workplace, then as far as I'm concerned there's a real problem in terms of us letting down the next community. We've got 1.16 million NEETs based upon the figures from November 2011. That's a colossal amount of talent and ability that's sitting around now doing very little. And I think we can do better, and it's about making sure that your transition process for them from academy or from school into the workplace is handled appropriately. And the same in terms of information, advice and guidance. It is about putting the right provision in place for them. We're maintaining our provision. I have a careers coordinator within the school. I'm also maintaining connections advisors, independent connections advisors now, as the government's asked us to call them. We have an intensive personal assistant who provides connections advice or careers advice to students that are particularly at risk within the academy of possibly not finding a job and dropping out and potentially being a burden on society. And it's about making sure that we put the right support in particular for those students. We also still will provide careers education in years 7 through to 13. I think it's critical. We've integrated it into our tutor programme, and it will continue as well. So in terms of direct changes, I think it's about finding the funding to do these things. It's still about saying, as far as I'm concerned, this is a top priority and one that we cannot stop providing young people with. I think local businesses, the biggest driver of support for the academy is the main sponsor, the City of London, and accessing through a host of different activities that we've set up with them. Whether it be work experience, whether it be trips and visits for our students, whether it be people coming in and helping us arrange talks and speaker visits, coming in and actually working for our careers fairs and so on. All those things have been incredibly helpful. We work very closely with Ernst & Young just up the road, on everything from governance, where one of their top partners comes in and supports this academy and supports with governance, through to work experience, Smart Futures, which is a programme looking at leadership amongst young people and developing employability skills. And also they provide us with, with 20 members of their staff come down into this academy and directly help us with things like literacy. So in terms of other local areas, we have 400 students that normally go out on work experience, so that's an awful lot of local employers who we've got great links with, and we really appreciate the work that we do with them. In terms of universities, an extensive sort of network is set up, mainly amongst the London schools, so things like Goldsmiths and South Bank University. We do a lot of work with, in terms of student ambassadors, people coming in and mentoring and working with our Gifted and Talented programme, and also looking at sort of transition programmes for students that wouldn't traditionally come to university. So it's trying to get them in to have a little look at what we're doing and what our students could get engaged with, and also particularly targeting students from families that haven't historically gone to university. So it's trying to break that link of possibly of aspiration and to raise aspiration, which is really, really important. And again, working with blue chip companies and working with employers, this is the whole point of what you're trying to do. You're trying to light fires in young people to encourage them to do things that they thought they couldn't possibly do. And that's really what I'm wanting to do. And principalship is all about. It's about setting these activities up and trying to give them a range of different options to hopefully find one that they resonate with to then go on and be incredibly successful with. I think there's a concern that I have is that the trends that I'm seeing is there seems to be a privatisation of some of these services, and it's moving from them being provided very much possibly by central government and also by local government to some degree, to a situation where it's a bit of the big society attitude of it's an expectation that this is what companies provide. I think with education you always have to be careful in terms of the balance between education and business and some of the business interests that companies come to education with, and I think it's about making sure that there is due process, care and attention and due diligence in terms of making sure you look at things appropriately and that what's being done is being done for the right reasons for the young people. I think it is about breaking the mould, and one of the great things about being an academy is you can start looking at things in a slightly different way in terms of how you work with employers and how you work with young people, and you can alter your curriculum accordingly. And also you've got a particular focus. This is a business and enterprise academy. We spend a lot of time looking at industry days, going out on trips and visits and activities and getting the students actively involved in real world activities to do with setting up and running your own business and other issues like leadership skills and having the ability to go out there in the real world and start, I think, from a very, very strong base in terms of being able to demonstrate the skills employers are looking for. I think for me, with employers and education, you get what you give. Those companies that make a large effort and have a long-term commitment to investing in young people, and if you take companies like Ernst & Young, for example, ultimately will come out of the recession and will be, I think, far better placed to be able to get the very best talent within their organisations through working with with academies and with schools like mine. It is a long-term relationship. It is about developing, I think, trust between the education or people in education and businesses. But I think it's also a very important relationship to get right. And if employers can't moan and groan about what isn't happening or about the quality of young people coming out if they haven't actually invested in trying to improve the young people for tomorrow's jobs. And this is something that I think comes in over and over again. It's about partnership. I also appreciate that there are many businesses that are struggling in the face of the recession and are simply now fighting for survival, and sometimes some of them can see some of the things that we get involved in, like work experience, as an extra thing to be asked of them that doesn't in the short term bear fruits. But it is about, if British business is serious and wants to move away from short-termism, it needs to invest in the medium and long term in the workforce for tomorrow, and this requires some forward thinking and also does require some investment from them.